Inside Roblox, there are too many dangerous players who have done some pretty dark things, like the player I am going to show you today, who supposedly murdered her family and her boyfriend. So be very careful. And well, as I had told you, in Roblox there exists a player who did some pretty dark things, and the player I am talking about is Animara 2020. This case is told to us by a girl who doesn't give us her name, but in this video, we will call her Diana. Diana tells us that after a long day of shopping, when she got home, she decided to play some games before going to sleep. While she was online, she saw one of her friends was playing a game, so she decided to join her. But then, for some strange reason, a few minutes later her friend left, and since she had nothing else to do there, Diana also left the game. Later, she received an invitation from a user quite unknown to her named Animara 2020. Diana tells us that after receiving the constant notifications, she finally decided to click on the profile of Animara 2020. At first, it looked like a normal avatar, but then she noticed the description. It wasn't in English. It was written in Greenlandic, a language spoken in the Arctic, which made the profile feel even more cold and mysterious. The description started with a strange mix of greetings, including the Thai word for hello. But beneath that, the Greenlandic text translated to something that felt unsettling in that moment. It said, "Thank you for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful day." On the surface, it seemed like a polite welcome, but to Diana, it felt like the player had been waiting for her to click. She tried to close the window, but the invitations from Animara 2020 just kept coming, every single second. Diana tells us that dealing with that type of people is something she really doesn't like. So just so she would stop bothering her, she joined the game. She tells us that at the start, it was a normal game. In fact, it was quite generic, full of free models. But there were some cabins with an old appearance. She says that an Animara stared at her from the beginning and told her, "Welcome to my game, where we live our lives in a small neighborhood full of weird things." All those messages from Animara were put with a happy face, so it started to seem quite weird to her. Diana says she simply responded with an "okay," to which a few seconds later, Animara told her, "Feel free to explore the map, and also, don't worry about the weird things. I tried to make it look like my neighborhood." Diana listened to her, so she started to explore the map. While she was walking through the map, she says she found something very weird. On a hill, there was a sign that said, "Animara 2020 did it." She kept walking through that place and says there was another sign that said, "The creation of Animara 2020." Behind that sign, she says there was a giant and creepy spider, and it was stalking the avatar of Animara 2020. She moved away from that, honestly, because it was giving her fear, and she decided to check other places on the map. So, after a long walk, she came across a dark cave. When she entered, she says there were some arrows indicating a path to follow. At the end, there was a chest, and out of curiosity, she opened it and says she found the avatar of Animara 2020 inside, and that it then exploded. Quite weird, honestly. After that, Animara 2020, who was in the game with Diana, said she had to leave. So, after she left, Diana also logged out. Honestly, she tried to forget everything that happened in the game before going to sleep. A few weeks later, this is where the dark stuff starts. Animara asked her to play with her again, but when Diana joined the game, she noticed it had been updated. Inside the game, Animara 2020 was staring at her. She didn't say anything or ask any questions, but she kept staring at her. A few seconds passed, and the game elements disappeared. For some strange reason, the game seemed to reload, but now there were some skeletons and a vase full of roses between two of them at the top of each cabin in the game. This time, she tried to stay as far away as possible from the caves, but Animara 2020 kept staring at her without saying a single word. Diana decided to ask her if everything was okay, and as a response, Diana's screen started to flash red, and the username of Animara 2020 appeared on the screen. And then a message appeared that said, "Check the houses." Diana went to check them. She says it was a house based on nature. It was full of flowers and you could barely see where you were going. She says that suddenly, something loud and disturbing started to sound. She says it sounded so loud to the point of hurting her ears. So she tried to turn down the volume, but every time she turned down the volume, a jump scare appeared on her screen. Diana didn't know what to do and decided to leave the game, which she says was her biggest mistake. She says that Animara realized she left the game, so she started to spam her again. She told her, "Where are you? Why did you leave my game? Why did you go? I know you haven't seen all the houses yet, so join me. Forgive me if you got scared by the bodies of my dad, my mom, my boyfriend, and my friend. It's just that I want to recreate what happened in my neighborhood. Please join me." Diana simply didn't respond to this, and she was quite scared. Animara kept sending her messages, but it reached a point where it stopped, and she disconnected. Diana says she has not communicated with her after what happened. Well, people, this is supposedly the profile of Animara, or well, Animara 2020. I think in this whole video we were just saying Animara. As I mentioned earlier, Diana noticed something very specific about Animara 2020's profile. While many thought the description was empty or just random letters, it actually contained a message in Greenlandic, a language rarely seen on Roblox, which translates to, "Thank you for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful day." But what makes this even more unsettling is the player's appearance. For some reason, Animara 2020 is dressed in a very specific Christian-themed style. She is wearing a pink bandage and a hair accessory that reads, "Jesus is my savior." It's a strange and holy contrast for a player who is rumored to have done such dark and terrible things. Why would a supposed murderer hide behind a religious persona? Is it a disguise? Or is she seeking forgiveness for the crimes she committed against her own family? She started on November 29th, 2020, and supposedly the game where everything happened was in this one right here. And well, people, here in the game there are several problems. Besides the game being very dark, the game runs with incredible lag, and it's not my mobile, it's the game. As we can see, we have a person that something strange happened to their face, and a person who is like pink, also a bit weird. And this looks like it's like a ghost, people, a weird ghost. But well, if we go out, much weirder things start to appear. This is supposedly what represents Animara, what happens in her neighborhood. There is a baby on the ground, toys, and among us, black flowers. Quite strange, people, honestly. Besides going very lagged, it's quite strange. There are candles over here, and there are trees like colored ones, people. But well, people, if we go to the middle part, we can see several houses which Animara told Diana to see, but she didn't want to see and left the game. As we can see, people, here supposedly is Mara's family. Supposedly this is the mom, the dad, the boyfriend, and the friend. Quite dark, honestly. There are the flowers. They represent that they are dead. There is food on the ground, and here there is something strange, people. There is like a spider, there is a candle, and like faces. There are knives, people. It could be that she killed one of her relatives here or something like that. And here we have a house that is closed. We have to open the door. Ready? And when we go in here, there is a ghost that is said to be Animara's mom. Quite strange, people, honestly. And if we go to the upper part, we can see some eyes of a face with blood. Here we have like a purple house, and here we have food. But the strange thing about that food is that when we eat it, it's as if it were poison, people. Yes, it's like poison. It is said that this is how Animara killed her friend. And well, people, we have only seen 4 houses, and there are many more. Like this house here, which is dark with a purple door. If we enter here, there is nothing, honestly. Everything is dark, and there are some knives here on the floor, and the bed is also purple. Quite strange. And back there is something strange. People say that all these ghosts that are here are souls, and Animara could have killed them all. So they are a species of representations, or that in her neighborhood many people died. It is quite strange, honestly, people. Well, people, supposedly this is the nature house that I had mentioned to you, and for some strange reason, it doesn't let you enter. But we can see that there is a kind of bed, there are flowers, some chairs, and fire. There is nothing else, honestly. And well, people, here is the sign of Animara did it and creation of Animara. Okay, here we have like a kind of lagoon, quite strange, that glows. What? If one gets in, people, it won't let me out anymore. Be careful, people. Be careful if you get in here. I already have to reset. Well, people, behind the Animara 2020 creation, we can see something like what was mentioned in the story. We can see a kind of giant spider going for Animara. As we can see, here is Animara, or Aninamara, and there is this spider. Quite dark, honestly. It has like a strange mask, honestly. And here is a kind of cave. Supposedly, the body of Animara was supposed to be here in this chest, but there is only a cape. And well, people, the game has many more secrets. Like, let's say this cave here, where if we are calmly going down, we find a kind of eyes, or I don't know if that is normally in the games, but here I found a kind of eyes, people. But well, people, honestly, supposedly this game has more secrets, but I'm going to leave those to you in case you want to look for them. And well, people, the dark thing about Animara, or Aninamara, is that the last time she connected was recently, only 5 months ago, and it is said that she is still looking for players to get into her game. Well, people, honestly, this case was quite strange, since supposedly Animara in her game gives us the representation of what happened in her real life, or that she murdered her family and her boyfriend, or that they died on their own. The game we see had quite a few hidden things, but the bad thing was that it was very lagged. Also, Diana, after telling us this whole case, honestly, she disappeared. She never told us anything again, and this case was documented more than 2 years ago. What could have happened to Diana? But well, guys, that's it for today's video. Remember to give it a like, subscribe, or else Animara will come for you.